Hello Earth, welcome to episode 22 of Making Cell, a series of videos where I record myself designing and implementing a programming environment called Cell. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I recommend you check this out, github.com/autocodenl/cell, link in the description. We're going to continue where we left off, which is at an interesting place. We have, do I have the node modules here? No. Let's install them and run the server. All right. So this is working. So I had a couple of ideas. So let me tell you what I was thinking on during my commute. So, well, first of all, we're going to wrap up that quick search at the top that we started here, just improve a little bit how it looks. And then, what else? Then we're going to start building the computing aspect of it, which is going to be fun. I want to start being able to compute things in Cell, where I basically say, for example, give me the number of paths that there is here in this path. I need to improve my vocabulary, right? The number of paths that is in this path, I guess, with the number of paths that I get from this prefix. I need to start improving the naming of things. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be a mess. But it's okay. We'll do it on the fly. So, what do I want to do? So we're going to do that. But then, yes, once we have the computing, sorry, before we jump into the computing, I realized that we can already organize the cell at the top level. Something we've been doing informally, but we already have a dialog prefix, and there we store all the paths that concern the cell itself. Sorry for the background noise. Then we have the editor. It's not the client. So the editor is, sorry, just give me a moment. So where were we? Yeah. So organizing the cell. So we have the dialog. Then I'm thinking of adding a key called the editor and renaming the client to editor, really, because client is almost meaningless. Editor is a much better name, I think, for it. It really describes what you're doing with cell, which is you're editing the cell, you're changing things. Then you will have, of course, your own UIs, your own views to do like more standard things. But the editor really gives you the ability to just deal with it more directly. Then we have the endpoints, which is where we're going to expose this. We're going to expose it through email, perhaps. Perhaps not, definitely. I think it's very useful to have that, to be able to send an email to the cell. Then you have the HTTP. We're basically able to expose it through, yeah, HTTP requests or maybe in WebSockets later. And then, for the most interesting part that triggered this whole thing, the idea that we can have rules. So, for example, dialog has very specific rules about what it should be, what you can put there. You cannot just do anything there. For example, technically, you're not even allowed to delete stuff. You just can allow entries, new entries that have a certain shape. So those will go here in rules. And this can be sort of a backbone for the entire cell. So you basically define what can go and what cannot go in certain places. And that's just pure logic. And that is really exciting to me, to be able to have that. Because then we can build with that. You can actually say, okay, I want structured data at this prefix, and then you determine the shape of that data, and you do it in rules. And you have a reactive spine for the entire thing. This basically, it gives you the schema, so to speak, but in a very flexible, dynamic, computable way. And then finally, we have the views, which are going to be little pieces of UI that you can expose in a link, and yeah, that's going to be awesome to have and to build. So anyway, let's just do this quick search at the top. and then start with computing the number of paths at a certain prefix. So, yeah. Where were we? Yeah, ID. So what I want to do is the following. No, not so. Client. Well, first of all, let's rename the client. Editor. Much better name. And cell and the editor. Shouldn't matter, but I'm going to do it in the right order anyway. All right, it still works. Yep. Yep. Perfect. Okay, so now we're here. Let's just do the... I love the name editor. I know I said it like 4 times in 90 seconds, but I'm gonna say it again. So false. So if there's a search term, where's the search term? What do I want to do here? If there's empty text, there's no search, I guess. So what I want to do here is that's for the case where it could be 0, for example. And to be able to search for 0 and 0. The string is false in JavaScript. So if there's search, we only fold so if search is undefined, actually fold and so if we search, we don't fold. And the object ones, if search is undefined, actually when we do it like this. We ignore the fold or show the objects, which are these things that say expand or fold. Okay, better. And now if I guess we need to do the folding at the top here. So if the search is not undefined, we can do something like this. If JSON stringify to lowercase match search return path, something like that. Simple as that. And then the highlighting, the underlining, I guess we don't. I don't know if I need it. Let's just. Uh-oh. Oh yeah, there's an issue with the value here. But why? I guess we're losing the autofocus here. It's not very good. The autofocus doesn't help us there. Well, I wasn't expecting to run into issues with the front-end library so early in the game. This is a bit unfortunate. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm feeling the music too much. Let me see if I can switch it a bit. It's a bit too intense for me right now. So we could try... What could we try? Maybe this. Maybe let's give this a shot for a bit. Some nostalgia. So what's the problem here? Why does it lose the focus? Maybe I should not use a text here, I should use an input. Yeah, I wonder why it's losing the let's just try a very small yeah, it's performance based basically. Which basically means that need the so if search is undefined, no, it's not undefined, of course. Sorry about that. That makes sense. Yeah, I need to basically set this on the fly. But wait, that won't prevent the problem. The problem is that the redraw is too long, right? Was it debug? I have a prod mode, but I'm not sure if it's gonna help. No, it's just too slow. It just doesn't work. I wonder if it's trampling everything. Probably is, basically. The redraw mechanism is being very slow. If I just gave it more time, what would it be? Timeout? The internal, let's say 500. It still removes the state and the position in the input. Well, this is quite disappointing, I have to say. Oh, look at this. It's also obliterating the stuff in the dialog. That one I can fix very easily. So basically the ones for the search, fold. Yeah, so I guess it would be fold. Okay, better. Okay, we need to improve this thing massively when we have a lot of data. But to get a lot of data, we first need to be able to do something useful with it, to earn it, so to speak. So we're going to delay that. Let me just improve a little bit the look and feel so it doesn't look so off. Oh, I also had an idea for the logo of Cell. No, it's not that one, I think. This one, yeah. Okay. Let's see if it's an upgrade. Yeah. Okay. Maybe the fold ones. Maybe when folding one, I should show the first three, right? This is number 3. Max when folded. Yeah, I'm completely ignoring it. Yeah. If he expanded, yeah. Yeah. So I need to basically the first 3 decrement it. Yeah, but how would I know that? Well, I can assume them to be continuous. Is there a better way to do this? So let's say it starts at 7. Because if I have 20 here, you will not fold it. If I have 19, you will. Yeah. So if I have 20, I need to save. This is ugly. I can just do it like this. Because we're really looking at the first element, right? So if I was doing it by hand, I would just basically do what here? This leftmost thing is just absurd. Horrible name. It would be per prefix. That's pushed. So if there's no element, ignore. Or I could do something like this. If paths pushed per prefix. Actually, even better, I can already set the keys here. Yeah, much better. Paths push. If it's less than the max when folded, so with 0, then 3, 1, and 3, 2. Paths. If paths, no, then paths pushed per prefix path 0, we increment it. And we just basically zero, 1, 2. Yeah, perfect, it will work. And then we add the last one. That's it. Perfect. Okay. Much better. All great except for the search, but I'm okay. I can work with this for now. Add editor. Yep. Some stuff I added there on the README, on the train. It's an editor. Yeah. All right, and off it goes. It's nice to publish, huh? Always nice. Are we gonna start doing the performance sucks with large cells? Good to know. Okay, now we start computing for real. Okay, I think the fun can start now. Okay, let's design this. Let me switch rooms. Anything in order to not code, right? I'm moving the mouse like I was generating randomness because OBS might stop recording at any time. Well, it has happened to me enough times to basically expect it. So we're going to do the count. We're going to count, and for counting we're going to need, apologies for all the background noise, it's getting really warm here. It's the beginning of summer in this hemisphere. So all right, okay, let's compute the number of paths. So let's say I want to do a count. It would be like ANSIC. What does ANSIC? Australian Bureau of Statistics for use of Australia and New Zealand. Interesting. Standard industrial classification. Beautiful. A and Z is that, Australia and New Zealand. Standard industrial classification. Okay, that's the level of excitement we're handling in this channel. Brilliant. So I want to do something like ANSIC would be count path. A path or a prefix? Well, a prefix is always a path. That's a good one to write down. Ideas. A prefix is a path. I would say the left for path. So we can put, sorry about that. I think this is the episode of the background noise. Just hang on a minute, please. All right, good. Let's see if there's other sources of noise. Yeah, this is gonna turn into an ASMR channel at this rate. Only it's all unpleasant noises. Count. I guess we can do a count. So we'll do something like, I'm calling a count function, and there's going to be a bunch of functions at the top level, I guess, or actually not functions, are calls really. Okay, let's get there when we get there. We have the count, prefix, because we're counting paths, everything is path. So we count with the prefix, and the prefix is going to be, this is a hash by the way we're passing. It will be ANSIC industry data 2011. I'm expecting something like this. Something that tells me it's 280. Right? Do I need any other parameters here? No, I thought about an in one before, but honestly, let's just go with this. So how would I go about implementing this in Cell? Well, the way I would do it is I would do a well, I could do a get and then a count, but that's a bit like cheating. I was thinking of a conditional where I basically run through everything. That's silly. Why would I do that? The get should work. Maybe count can just simply take, I mean, you could do something like this, right? This should work. this would really give me all those 280 paths, right? Yeah. Let's look at the structure of this, because this might last a while in a good way. You said already, and you say where this is going to be, where it's going to live, right? Everything has a path, and then you start with the equal, because serendipitously this is sorted before the at. I guess it has to get with the character codes that the ASCII standard gave it many years ago. I would say a century ago, I think. It's ASCII. No, 1960, not a century yet. Only 60 years, yeah, 65 years. All right. And you have the equal first. So you first see the result, and then you see what was the code that generated. I like that a lot. I like this. It's almost like I'm sliding here. So let's just be slightly silly here and see how it looks here. And City Computer Ocean is the one that we always use. So this one would be at the top, I think. Okay, let's fix that. If it's 3, yeah. If it's 0 and paths per prefix path 0 is greater than paths pushed per prefix. Nice. I like this. 280. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. How, like, who executes this so that this brings me this reference? Do we cache the results or not? Do we actually, instead of saying caching, questions? Do we save the results at equal or not? Argument against. A lot of duplication. Argument for making HTTP calls for which we want to keep the result. So let's go with against and do this on the fly. So how would I store this? How would I execute this? So let's say I would do something like this. It would be just count. And this would get expanded. How? So we are thinking in terms of path per path. So if okay, I kind of thought about this a little bit more than a little bit when I was doing this one. But that was the theory, right? Sure, I wrote 50 pages, but it was theory. Although I had a few practical examples. Oh, I have to do the logo. I need to remember about that at some point. But this is more important than the logo. Much more important still. The idea is you find the path. That's the magic of looking at line by line, so to speak, actually really path by path. And then you find that there's something with an at. So you find the rightmost at and you expand it so you make the call. And then keep on doing this until all the ats have a equal on top. But there is a problem. What's your problem? You only have problems, huh? So my problem is that when we add the equal, we have two paths. So I know from repeated experience that having an understandable order of execution that you can control is key. So in which order we do it is really important. So something like this. So it gets expanded there, and then well, actually, if you expand this, you can always trace it back, right? Because then it will expand to this. And then I can keep on processing this path, right? But then I'm going to have an add count there. It's just going to find me the function, and then it's going to get all the paths, right? Where is this? I'm trying to see the shape here. What are my questions? What are my questions? My questions are, what do I do? Sure, I can get all the stuff in there. But then how do I know that this add count needs to get the equal? The call to add count needs to get the value from the equal. And then how would I define count, really? Because count needs to get I guess I can do the count would be to give me all the prefixes and just count them. It would be as easy as that, right? me switch the music for a bit. Maybe I can start with just the rightmost expansion, right? But at least that shape that turns the adds into also adding an equal at the top is really, yeah, that's the shape. That's the shape of it. In the same way that we define paths for all the data, this is the shape that computation takes in the data space. And I think it works. It will work. Just look at this. So let's go with the problems. The call to outcome is to get the value from the equal. We can always do that, like jump to the, if there's an equal, we get it. Otherwise, we get whatever is there. Solution. Check if the value is a hash and has a key equal. If it does, use that as the value. Otherwise, use the whole thing as the value. Music. Yeah, this one worked very well for me. Okay, so we have one problem and one solution here. The other one is like who runs these expansions? Do we do it on the server or on the client? On the editor. Now it has to be in the server. The server is the source of truth. So if we have computations depending on another computation, it has to happen in the server. But we don't want to store it, right? What if we store it? What's the problem? Yeah, the search bar is going to work even less. What? You keep because I don't want to have this double representation, the one that we store and then the one that is a computed one. I'm not sure if I like that one. At least we know that the server is going to run this, and the server is not a great name for it either. Editor is great. The server would be really the core, because the core, what does the core do? I guess it would be the service, right? The service is in charge of storing the stuff, the computing. Well, I guess it would be the store, communicate, and transform. Whereas the editor, that's just communicate and transform without storing. Okay, we're gonna name the server later if you want. We can store it, options, I'm going back on what I said here. Don't store the results, rerun them, store the results, but still rerun and just serve them to the client. We have stored the results, but still rerun them on change. We can rerun things on change. And then we get on the entire thing of dependency tracking and doing it efficiently, blah, 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 which I guess we can deal with. We might have to, but at the beginning, throwing enough performance should solve it. At least there, not here. Don't remind me, please. Maybe we can go with them. Store the results, but still rerun them on change. So we have always the results. So we don't store results, but we always rerun things. Let's go with option 2. We'll see later how we deal with HTTP. So who is gonna do this? Put. Who is in charge of computing things? Put. At least that is the entry point. You can only put code that calls, place calls through put. So that's the entry point, right? Okay, we need to start with something more basic. We need to do something like butters. Butters would be at clipboard, right? By the way, would that work already? I mean, the right part. No. Sorry, it's butters. Yeah, it does work. That was season 1. Sorry, that takes me back. Okay, that works. Ah, it's okay. This is tough, but it's good. And I think we're making progress, believe it or not. So you go through each path. Let's just do it. Iterate each path after executing the put. If you find something with an at, take the entire, we'll call it suffix, or we can just call it a value, but maybe suffix is where prefix, suffix. Take its suffix and take its suffix and run a get on it. All the paths you get, insert them at the prefix of the at and with a equal in the middle. That would really be it. That would be a reference. This implements reference. It really implements reference. Let's design the logo for a minute. Hi, can you design me a logo for cell? My idea is to have a C and a schwa, with the C being bigger and surrounding the schwa, and both letters being sans serif bordering on mono, and the whole thing kind of reading like a CE. Please do black letters on white background. Yeah, it's a bit scary, and that's not a schwa. Can you make the C thinner, much less overwhelming, and also less shorter, and the internal IA schwa? It's very interesting how you start seeing it. Better. Let's make the C even thinner, reminiscent of a lowercase c, and please make the E a schwa. That's an inverted E. Okay. We're going to do this next session, but we're getting somewhere here. So we just take the suffix and do a put. So each put, this basically gives us a nested put. Oh my god. I think I can do better myself. Please try to do this with tachyons and normal fonts. it not enough? Oh, well, it just completely made it up, but it actually works. Perfect. Please make it 3 spaces indent. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I can put it at the top of the search box. Okay, I think we can fix this a bit later. But I like that we start to have something. Maybe I can ask once more. Can you put it on the top left of the div so it's not so disruptive? It's pretty cool that it picks up the indentation too. Well, it didn't, right? Yeah, it didn't. Oh yeah, it did, sorry. Or not. Okay, a bit better. It still looks awful, but get going. Okay, let's continue tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow, I'm going to stop procrastinating with the logo and actually do reference. Yeah, it's on. Thank you for watching.